Hello and welcome to the latest in the plant health webinars for Tyfu Cymru. Today I'm going to talk about the health of trees and shrubs, and in that I'm going to give you an overview of pest and disease symptoms and then talk about biosecurity precautions, and this is especially for ornamental growers in Wales. So, to begin, plant health. Pests and diseases, P&D as an abbreviation, lead to production losses and sales losses and losses in gardens, woodlands and forests. They can also cause widespread damage to food production and the environment. And we've recently seen the effects in the landscape and the economic impacts through ash dieback disease and through remorum disease in Wales. With greater movement of plants by horticulture and by other industries, movement within countries and between countries, the risk of spread of P&D is increasing and is high. So, the key topics that I'll cover in this webinar are firstly the importance of tree and shrub health to growers and to retailers, then the diagnosis of pests and diseases, and I'll talk about condition surveys of trees, and then I'll move on to the tree biosecurity strategies that we have in Wales, and I'll illustrate some of the important aspects of that through giving examples of pest and disease risks to trees and shrubs, and particularly Xylella Fastidiosa. And I'll finish by talking about some further information sources that you can use if you have particular interest in this subject. So, the knowledge of tree and shrub health is very important to growers, and themes within that are firstly the identification of pests and diseases. Now that's important to you to recognise when problems require controlling or when you need to limit the spread of the pest, and for when you need to choose appropriate control methods. You also need knowledge of biosecurity measures. So these are measures that try to stop entry of the pest into a region or into an individual nursery. And you also need knowledge of this so that you're able to comply with legislation and with regulations. Now, to play your part in controlling the spread of tree disease, it's also important that when diseases occur, they're reported so that the track of the disease can be followed and appropriate measures can be put in place. And finally, it's important to be able to advise customers so that they get the best plants and the trees and shrubs that they buy perform well within their settings. So advising customers on the selection of trees and shrubs, or if diseases are present, on the selection of varieties that are resistant to those pests and diseases, and also being able to answer customers' questions on plant health. Now, just to give you some definitions which are quite useful in understanding the topics of plant health. The first of these is pest. And a pest is an animal that causes damage to plants. So for an example, an insect or a mite or a nematode. A vector is an animal that carries and then transmits a microorganism. The microorganism being the organism which causes the plant disease. That's a pathogen. So a pathogen is an organism that causes the disease in plants. And that might be a fungus or a water mold, bacteria, viruses, or mycoplasmas. Now those pathogens are usually given Latin names, but the disease they cause is given a common descriptive name. So the disease is the collection of symptoms that are caused by the pathogen. The host species is a plant species, or maybe a range of plant species, that the pest can attack or the pathogen can infect. And when those infections become serious, it's called an epidemic. So an epidemic is classified, it's recognized in terms of the number of plants infected and the overall severity of the disease. And sometimes it's described as a rapid increase in disease levels across a population. Now, it's not always pests and pathogens that affect plant health. They're abiotic factors as well, and these are non-living factors. So there may be things like chemicals. So an example would be herbicide drift from spraying, which then affects the leaves on a tree, or soil or water pollutants, and that might include the runoff of salt from roads. It may be nutrient deficiencies, and macro or micronutrient deficiencies are often shown up in the condition of leaves. Might be mechanical damage, so damage that occurs from the use of machinery or damage from handling. Poor pruning can cause damage to the plants, or there might be weather damage, and hails or storms can cause the breakage of branches, but also holes in leaves. Soil structure is very important. So if the soil isn't deep enough to allow rooting, that will affect the condition of the tree. Poor drainage and waterlogging will cause poor root performance, and soil compaction again stops air reaching the roots. It might be the temperature, so frost or chill damage can cause damage to leaves, as can heat scorching. And water availability is obviously very important as well, either through drought or as the waterlogging that I've just described. Now, you can look at the tree or the shrub, and there are certain types of symptoms that you can look out for. And there are names to describe those symptoms. But if you look at the parts of the tree, it will help you in the diagnosis of the disease. So there can be changes in the crown of the tree, such as changes in the leaf colour, or dieback, and that's when shoots die back, and that begins at the tips of the branches and then progresses down the branch. Or it might be leaves turning brown and falling early, premature leaf senescence. There can be changes in stems or the trunk of the tree, such as galls or swellings, splits on the bark surface, distortion of the stems, reduced growth of the tree, or rot and decay, bleeding of the stems, or obvious fungal fruiting bodies like bracket fungi. Or you might be able to spot where mechanical damage has occurred here. Now, if you see a sudden change to the tree or to young foliage, again, it helps with the diagnosis. So it might be a blight, which is a widespread and rapid death of leaves or flowers or stems, or a wilt, which looks as if it's not had enough water, but may actually be caused by a pathogen. There are also symptoms on leaves and flowers or fruits, and these may be rots or spots or lesions. And they may be scab diseases, anthracnose diseases, rusts, sooty moles, or a variety of other problems. If it's caused by animal pests, you can often see distinctive damage on the leaves or the fruits, and that might be holes in the foliage, or you might see the evidence of the animal pest being there from the frass that it leaves behind. There are also some organisms that are present on trees that actually cause very little damage. and people do tend to worry about them, but really there's very little need to. These might be things like mistletoe, which is semi-parasite, lichens, which grow on the outside of branches, or mosses, or green, other colours of algae growing on the trunks. Again, these aren't actually tree diseases, but may be seen on the trees, but cause very little damage indeed. So I'll just go through some of the examples of those symptoms in pictures so that you're able to recognise them. So to begin with the first one there, an example of change in the crown. So here's a picture of a ash dieback, and you can see here that the leaves are clustered around the centre of the tree, or shrub in this case, and there are bare tips to the branches, and that's symptomatic of a dieback. So the dieback starts at the tips of the branches, and then the leaves are lost progressively down the branches. And this also is symptomatic of the ash dieback disease. This is a diamond-shaped lesion that occurs where a twig meets a main branch, because the fungus gets into the inside of the branch and spreads down and kills the branch. And as the fungus spreads down the branch, it forms this dead area of the diamond-shaped lesion. Examples of changes in stems or trunks. So here's an obvious example where you can actually see the fungus. These are the fruiting bodies of the fungus, and that will indicate rot occurring in the tree. Sometimes these occur where the tree is already dead and live on the dead wood. In many cases it's not the cause of the rot, but it's a symptom that the rot is there. Bleeding might occur where wet areas occur on the trunk of the tree, and there are a number of diseases associated with this. This is on a maple tree. This is a bleeding canker, which has probably been caused by a species of the water mould Phytophthora. Next, some examples of sudden changes to trees or shrubs. So this is very often seen later in the summer when the leaves go white, and that's caused by powdery mildew. And this is an example on a Portuguese oak. Again, it's very much cosmetic damage. It does take energy from the tree because the fungus lives on living cells, but the tree generally recovers unless there's a very serious problem with this. But very common to see powdery mildews, a whiteness on both the upper and lower surfaces of the leaves. Here's a rust, and this happens to be on black poplar, and you can see yellowish spots on the leaves. If you turn them over, you'll see rust-like pustules occurring on the leaves. So rusts are very distinctive diseases on a lot of plants. Examples of rots and spots and lesions on leaves and fruits. So this is brown rot on pear, monolinear fungus, and again very distinctive and rots the fruit, so it's no longer usable. This is an anthracnose on an oak. Now, anthracnose is a fairly general term for a leaf spot, particularly death of the cells in parts of the leaves, but is a symptom that you can use to diagnose a number of pathogens that are affecting the trees. This is scab disease. This is apple scab, and you can see very distinctive lesions on the surface, spots on the surface of the apple. Have a close look at the spots, see whether they've got lighter centres and dark around the outside, or whether they're uniform in colour, because that'll help you diagnose the disease as well. Here's a leaf spotting disease that causes defoliation As an example of leaf spots, and this is a leaf spot on hawthorn. You can see those very dark spots there caused by the infection of fungus, which the spores have been fired up from leaf litter on the ground. Some examples of damage by animal pests that are quite distinct. So this is vine weevil damage on rhododendron. You can see vine weevil eats the edge of the leaf and forms a very distinctive pattern on the leaf. This is a disease, a pest that's come into the country very recently, but it's infecting virtually all the horse chestnut trees. So this is an animal pest, a leaf miner, and forms strips of eaten material, brown material, on the leaves. Again, a very distinctive pattern that's easy to diagnose. This is skeletonization of a leaf, and again, this is a very recent pest to increase in numbers. And this is on an Italian alder, and the leaf's been skeletonized. It's eaten from both sides, leaving the vein pattern, and that's been caused by an alder leaf beetle. So again, a very distinctive symptom occurring on the leaves. Other distinctive things are insect galls, which are produced to protect the larvae of an insect, and they form very distinctive patterns. Here you can see a gall which has changed the shape of a developing acorn. That's on the left-hand side, and on the right-hand side you can see another type of gall which is called a spangle, an oak spangle, on the lower sides of the leaves, both caused by growth distortion, alteration in the hormones when it's under insect attack. Now, I did mention that there are some non-damaging growth of organisms on trees, and just to show you some of those, this is sooty mould. Doesn't look very attractive and is caused when conditions are perhaps a little too damp. But it's on the surface of the leaves. It doesn't infect the leaves, but that's a sooty mould. This is a lichen, often a sign of good air conditions. It grows on the surface of the bark, but doesn't infect the tree. And it's also worth being familiar with the growth patterns of trees, because things can look like disease problems when they aren't. And this is an example of what could be described as a lump on an oak tree, but is actually caused by lots of buds appearing, which produce side shoots or epicormic shoots. So unlikely to be caused by a pathogen, sometimes set off by mechanical damage, but occurs on lots of trees. So it's really important to become familiar with the growth patterns of the trees that you're looking after. Now, I mentioned that there were a lot of threats from pests and diseases coming into the country. And in fact, the Royal Horticultural Society has listed the most prevalent pests and diseases that are occurring for ornamental trees and shrubs in the UK this year. And I've picked out some of those, just as examples that RHS members have noticed. And these are box tree moth, the vine weevil, which we've seen the symptoms of, the alder leaf beetle, rosy apple aphid, viburnum beetle, plum leaf curling aphid, and fungi that are showing high prevalence of the honey fungus, Phytophthora root rots, and box blight. So I've described some of the symptoms there, and now I want to move on briefly to talk about checking the trees. Now, often these are in park or gardens. You'd call this a condition survey. And it's quite important to be aware of when these condition surveys should be carried out. Owners or managers of land have a legal obligation, which is included under the Occupier Liability Act of 1957 and 1984, to ensure that foreseeable damage does not occur from trees on the land. And commercial premises have additional obligations under the Health and Safety Work Act of 1974. So a tree condition survey examines and produces a report on the physiology and the structural condition of a tree, and it relates that report with particular regard to possible tree failures, for example, where there are weak junctions, whether there's disease, or where decay has been identified. Now, surveys are generally done by visual assessment, looking at the trees, but there are technologies that can be used to investigate more deeply, and those supplement those surveys. One example is a resistograph, where a drill is sent into the tree, and that measures the wood density, and therefore helps detect where softening or decay is occurring. There's also a technology called sonic tomography, which is non-invasive, like sending the drill into the tree. And in tomography, sound waves are sent out and then detected as they come out of the tree. So the wave patterns detected, and they result in what's called a tomograph, a picture, which is represented as a cross-section of the tree, and that helps reveal cavities within the tree. Now, these condition surveys normally come as reports and are generally produced by professional arboricultural consultants, such as those that are registered with the Arboricultural Association. And if you're interested in learning how to do tree condition surveys, there are courses, and one, for example, from Lantra is on basic tree survey and inspection. Now I'm going to move on to tree biosecurity and the measures that are in place to try and stop the spread of disease. Now, in the document produced in 2014 by DEFRA, Protecting Plant Health and Plant Biosecurity Strategy for Great Britain, biosecurity is described as a set of precautions that aim to prevent the introduction and spread of harmful organisms. Now, that relates to plants in general, but in 2018, DEFRA produced another document, Tree Health Resilience Strategy, building the resilience of our trees, woods and forests to pests and diseases. And that document is intended to be of relevance to nursery owners. So if you're involved with trees, it's well worth going back to that original document and having a look at what the resilience strategy is. The Tree Health Resilience Strategy has a vision, and that is to build the resilience of England's trees, woods and forests, and to enhance the benefits trees provide by mitigating and minimising the impact of pests and diseases, and improving the capacity of our trees to adapt to changing pressures. Now, it does mention England there, but the principles are being adopted in Wales as well. So, in understanding the importance of biosecurity, we need to know where tree pests come from, and they might come from infected stock, so plants that already have the disease and from which the disease can spread. And that includes imports. So a lot of the biosecurity measures are related to imports. They may not be the plants themselves, but there may be plant products and the inputs of those plant products, such as importing wooden pallets or fruit. Or they might come in on the soil that's imported with plants. And then once they're into a plant and into a situation where they can be spread, they may be spread by wind, and this is a mechanism that's used by the fungus which produces ash dieback, or it might be by rain, so spread in water droplets and splashed, or in irrigation water. And it's been found that remorhant disease of larch increases in times of wet weather. Animal vectors are also important, so aphids are known to transmit a number of viruses between plants. And also there's that problem of mechanical damage again. So when you're pruning or grafting, if the instruments aren't cleaned between plants, then when you produce the next cut, it might carry the pathogen into the next plant that you're dealing with. So biosecurity is subject to legislation in the UK, and this legislation is enacted through plant health and plant health (forestry) orders and various associated powers which are set out in legislation to implement European directives in the UK. And then changes to the legislation are made through amendments to those orders. Plant health is a devolved matter, so these orders are made for a devolved country. So example, we have an order which is Plant Health (Wales) order of 2018. The governance in Wales is in the Welsh Government. There's a Minister for Environment, Energy and Rural Affairs, and findings from DEFRA, Westminster, the Department for Environment, Food and Rural Affairs, and from the European Commission feed into advice and legislation for the Welsh Government. And Natural Resources Wales comes under the authority of the Welsh Government, and Natural Resources Wales is responsible for forestry and woodlands. In England, the Forestry Commission has that function, and the Forestry Commission reports into DEFRA. In England and Wales, we have APHA, the Animal and Plant Health Agency, APHA, and that's an executive agency of DEFRA, and it has responsibilities including identifying and controlling endemic, so pests and diseases in this country, and exotic, those that are coming in from outside. It's responsible for surveying, keeping an eye on new and emerging pests and diseases, helping, facilitating international trade in plants through imports and exports, and the implementation of plant health legislation. And that's often carried out through using phytosanitary certificates or in the EU plant passports. And incorporated within APHA is the Plant Health and Seed Inspectorate. That implements and enforces the plant health legislation. The work of the PHSI is defined as maintaining high plant health status in England and Wales by regulating, excluding, containing or eradicating quarantine plant pests. And it facilitates trade through the provision of the plant health certification services for phytosanitary certificates and plant passports. Now, to help keep an eye on the current threats, we have the UK Plant Health Risk Register, and it's well worth taking a look at this risk register because it advises you on the severity of the threats, but also gives you lots of additional advice. So it's maintained by DEFRA, it identifies threats, and it prioritises action against pests and diseases which threaten trees and crops. And the information for a particular pest or pathogen includes the level of the risk and the impact of the pest. For certain pests, there are contingency plans, a pest risk analysis, a PRA, and research summaries of work that's gone on in looking at these pests and pathogens. And you can search the risk register either by putting in a pest, a pathogen, or by putting in a plant name and looking at what are the risks to that particular host plant. Now, one of the major threats to trees that DEFRA is very keen that growers are aware of is the pathogen, a bacteria, Xylella Fastidiosa. Now, the bacteria colonize xylem vessels, which are the vessels within tree trunks and branches and leaves through which water flows. So the bacteria block those vessels so that water can't flow. And that means that there are symptoms from this pathogen that include wilts and diebacks, growth disruption in stunts, and leaf scorches that look like heat damage or frost damage. And the bacteria are spread by insects that feed on the vascular system in the plants. Now, it's been very serious on the continent, particularly in Italy, where it's caused the compulsory destruction of tens of thousands of commercial olive trees in an attempt to stop it spreading. Now, we don't want it in this country because it doesn't just attack olive trees, it attacks a number of other commercial hosts as well. And you can see here a list of those major hosts. And included in those are rosemary and lavenders, but for the tree grower, particularly prunus species, including the common plum. So it could affect prunus species if it got into this country, and it's really important that we take every precaution to keep it out of the UK and out of Wales. The government's taking this pathogen very seriously, so has drawn up a contingency plan. And this contingency plan says that infected plants are found in the UK. The actions could include the destruction of an infected consignment, which is identified when it's being inspected. If it arrives on a nursery or some other site, then plants could be destroyed in the infected zone, and prohibition of plant sales and the movement of plants within and from those zones would occur. So quite a lot of impacts possible on businesses if it gets into this country. So again, another very important reason for stopping the spread of Xylella and making sure we adhere to biosecure practices. So, what action should the grower take to make sure that they're following biosecure procedures? Well, firstly, source from suppliers that have reliable biosecurity arrangements. Know your supplier. When you're thinking of using a high-risk species, one that's highly susceptible to a disease, try and find an alternative to that, because it will be much lower risk to you if you do so. If you do find a pest or disease which is listed, you must report that to APHA. It's also important to isolate or quarantine new batches of plants and then monitor them for signs of disease. And it may not only be you who's looking out for these diseases and pests, you must make sure that all your staff are able to play their part. So train staff in biosecurity and in plant hygiene methods. Customers are being told about Xylella. So the important messages that are going out to customers are that Xylella has the potential of affecting more than 500 different species. People are being told never bring back plants from abroad because you can cause damage to the environment and to the horticulture industry. And wherever customers are buying plants, they're being told to source their plants carefully, try and buy locally grown plants in the UK wherever possible. Now, I mentioned that it's important to identify where disease outbreaks are occurring. So the reporting of tree diseases is important so that nationally data can be collected. So in addition to reporting an outbreak to APHA, there are programs to collect information on the occurrence of tree diseases. And growers and customers are encouraged to participate. So anybody having a garden or control of land, or even spotting it as they go around the country. And an example of this is Tree Alert. And you can search for this on the internet and have a look at it. On this system, you submit photographs and then can get help with diagnosis. So very important where you can to submit information, and that helps track the disease and therefore controls its spread. There are a number of sources of information on tree and shrub health, which really are sources that you should go to regularly because they're continually being updated with information on legislation and risks and other important facts about pests and diseases, including research. So the UK Plant Health Information Portal is the central UK government information point, and it includes information on tree health. So it describes itself as providing information about plant pests and diseases, including risk assessments, and it links to other sites of interest and information on plant health controls and services provided by government. So important that you look at the UK Plant Health Information Portal. There are also a number of other websites that are very useful if you have questions or want extra information. So for example, preventing the introduction and spread of tree pests and diseases is on gov.uk. Information and guidance on plant health controls is also there. You can search for the UK Plant Risk Register. APHA has topical issues page, again on gov.uk. And there's very useful information on tree pests and diseases on forest research, pest and disease resources. And I've put the web address there for that. A useful guide to the symptoms with lots of pictures has been issued by the Food and Agricultural Organisation. Their free guide to the illustrated, which is illustrated on the state of health of trees, recognising and interpreting symptoms, that's available online. You can also undertake further training, for instance on biosecurity, on the forestry e-learning website. There are opening beginners guides for pests and diseases on the observatory website. And if you want information for your customers, there's a Xylella video, which is very useful on the RHS website. So that gives you a general introduction to the symptoms of pests and diseases, how to look for them, how to describe them, so you can then go to other sources and try and identify the diseases. We've talked about biosecurity measures, the importance of biosecurity, on restricting the spread of disease and pests in the UK to help our industry. And we've also talked about sources of further information. So thank you very much for listening.